McLaren Trophy Europe is in action at Brands Hatch this weekend for the first race weekend of 2025. Its first UK visit as well. Never has it raced in the UK before. And after yesterday, when we had an absolute corker of a race, we're looking forward with high hopes to the second 50-minute race that is going to be getting underway very shortly indeed, with a significant tweak to the regulations this year, which allows for the sake of a better description, a push-to-pass facility, an extra power button that the drivers can use. The grid, based on the qualifying session of this morning, and Michael O'Brien is the man that took pole position, looking into the car of Will Aspin, that didn't start yesterday because of a drama at the end of qualifying. So Will Aspin and the reigning champion, Alejandro Capet, coming into this race down, if you like, on points. They're on the back foot. They really do need a race win out of that. David Addison and Tommy Erdos are trackside. There's quite a lot to unpack, Tommy, really, from yesterday in terms of the race, but let's start with this extra power and these tweaks to the regulations and the amount of extra grunt the drivers have, because it's pretty generous.
Yeah, so McLaren very generous. They're giving a new toy for these guys to play with. And, we have a push-to-pass button. Okay. And the way it works is they get 300 seconds to use. They can use that in qualifying, which of course they use it a lot because it's a generous amount. But in the race, 50-minute race, you have to use it little by little. So otherwise you have nothing at the end. So yeah, so they push the button, that arms the system. When they achieve full throttle, the system is on. Okay. When they come off throttle, it disengages, but you can also disengage it manually on the button.
And 300 seconds is, what, 5 minutes? That's quite a lot to use around a circuit like this where you haven't got that many long straights. Let's go to the grid. Bryn Lucas is down there, and he's found some drivers to catch up on. Before we go racing, Bryn.
Well, Jaden, you got your fans behind you with the flag there. You put it on pole for the qualifying yesterday and today as well. It's a great place to start. Can you tell us a bit about this push to pass? Because that's what they've been talking about in commentary. Give us an idea of what it's like.
Yeah, well, first off, Michael's done a mega job today to put it on pole. And it'll just be kind of a race management with the push to pass. It is a very useful thing and tool that McLaren has given us to work with. As we've only got 300 seconds to use, makes it just a little bit more strategic in how we use it. So depending on whether he uses it to try and push at the start or leaves me a bit to push at the end will really depend on how the race pans out and how we get through turns 1 and 2.
As the car gets lighter, though, the effects are a bit more useful for you, I'm sure, so you'll be hoping for a fair bit of that one. Alongside Alejandro, he didn't start the race yesterday. That's going to be a feisty start off the line.
Yes, we do have our 7-second success penalty to serve in the pits, so it definitely will be interesting whether we can still come out in front. But I know Michael's going to give it everything he has, and I will too.
It was a great race yesterday. Hopefully you can repeat those amazing sights we saw. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
And the Australian driver then victorious yesterday. He's touched on another point I was going to come to discuss with Tommy in a moment, which is the slightly longer pit stops. So from here on in, if you do well in the previous race, you carry time into the next, the pit stop a little bit longer. And actually that accumulates, doesn't it, over the course of the season?
Well, I mean, yes, it's every time that you finish in the top 3 on the podium, you get these penalties, success penalties added that you need to serve in the next race. As Jaden said, and car number 17 will have 7 seconds added to their pit stop, and then car 68 will have 5 seconds added, and car 43, 3 seconds in the Pro class. But that goes across all the classes, Pro-Am as well. So we've got car 40 with +7 on Pro-Am, car 14 +5, and 22, which is the Greystone entry of Ryan Jones and Ollie Webb with 3 seconds added. And also the AM class will get the same result.
Let's go back to the grid. There's a keen Josh Mason there, who was on the podium yesterday. But Alejandro Capet didn't even start yesterday's race. So, Bryn, he desperately needs points out of the next 50 minutes of racing.
He certainly does need points in the next one, as you say. And it's all not going to come down to this in the championship, but your eyes firmly focused on Paddock Hill up there, even though you won't be starting the race.
Yeah, for sure. As I said before, it's been a tough one to swallow yesterday. We missed race 1. But we know we need to be perfect to get the points back, and we're really looking forward to finish the first round of the season on a high.
How do you go about being perfect in this race? Is it down to the start, a standing start, using the 300 seconds of push to pass correctly?
I mean, it's everything. We need to focus on the details. We need to be perfect on the start, on the race pace, on the pit stops. So yeah, looking forward.
You look focused, I'm sure Will is as well, so good luck.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
what is it they say about racing drivers getting younger? Alejandro Gapet, who, like Jaden Kelly, another of the young guns that we have on the grid, and the reigning champion as well. So not only does he look young, he's already achieved quite a lot in his racing career.
Incredible, isn't it, for his age? And yeah, even the way they talk, with the media, they're really well-trained athletes now, these young guys. And great to see Alejandro Gapet there on the grid. Like he said, they unfortunately missed the race, really due to mainly the format of the meeting. There was just not enough time between qualifying and race for them to get the thing going. And normally they would have got the car out. But really great to see the number 12 car on the grid, not only on the grid, but on the front row.
Now, another car that went well yesterday to finish in third place was the Greystone GT entry of Sam Nessa and Josh Mason. Back in the UK, having been racing stateside in single-seaters. Josh on the grid with Bryn.
An eventful day, you're saying to me yesterday for you, and you start in P5 after a decent podium. So it wasn't a bad result for you, but a tricky day for you. What happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a bit of a contact in FP2, which delayed our running for FP3. I only did one lap in FP3, which delayed us a little bit compared to everyone else. But qualifying, we brought something out, put it P3, which was very good, and then, yeah, finished third for the first race.
Sam's got to fight his way through a bit of a field ahead there. What is the game plan?
I think the game plan is just trying to push on as quickly as possible. I think the car's got really good pace. It definitely showed in qualifying today, but unfortunately we had the lap time deleted. So, I think Sam's going to do a very good first stint, and yeah, I think he could definitely push on, and let's see where we end up in the end of the race.
You're on the inside heading down to Paddock Hill, so it's not a bad place to be. Thanks very much, though. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Josh Mason, we used to see racing in this country in junior single-seaters, GB3, for example, went off to race in America. Alexander West, a familiar name to GT viewers, but he's decided to come and have a play in McLaren Trophy this year, and as a soloist, so he gets the entire 50 minutes to himself. And Alexander West was the winning yesterday. That therefore means, to echo Tommy's point from earlier on, he now carries the extra 7 seconds going into this second race of the weekend. And I think he said he'd like a bit more opposition in the class, but he'd enjoyed himself yesterday, first time out in the series.
Great run for Alex yesterday, and obviously a faultless performance, and obviously I think it was P5 overall, wasn't it? And obviously winning the class. But yes, you're right, he gets 7 seconds for as a reward for winning. But the one thing that's also important to point out is that the pit stop for the M class is only 46 seconds standing, plus obviously the loop-to-loop, which is about 20 seconds, or exactly 20 seconds. So the M's will stop again. When they do their pit stop, it's 46 seconds, and the Pro and Pro-M classes will have to stop for 60 seconds.
And then you factor in the success, and on it goes. So the teams have quite a lot to be on top of. They need to know when the window is. They need to know what the target time is. They need to remember that there's the compensation time, if you like, for being in the top 3. And the car controller becomes really important, doesn't he? Because if he releases the car and it trips the beam at the end of the pit lane under your regulation pit stop time, penalties come.
Unfortunately, you get a few more seconds added to your time. Absolutely. So yes, the team work is crucial to this race, obviously with pit stops involved. And the timing, as you say, keeping close time. Obviously, you don't want to give a second away. A second to make up on a track against 2 drivers that are equally matched is a big thing. So, and you can easily lose 5 or more seconds in the pits when something goes wrong. So, yes, very much a team game on that one.
And although we talk about, with the 1-minute board being shown, lots of the young drivers taking part in the championship, there are some very experienced, dare one say, old lags running the cars and embedded in some of the teams. So there's some good engineering brains up and down the pit lane. The driver you heard from, Alejandro Gapet, for the SMC Motorsport team, Spanish team, Emilio de Villota Jr.'s team. The McLaren lead cars and course cars blast away from the grid. It is not, unlike some one-make GT-style championships, a rolling start. It's a 1-by-1 staggered grid, so they'll do the formation lap and then form back up, ready to go. We had a couple of cars in the wars yesterday. Fiona James had a mechanical issue and retired, so did Michael Carlson, but they are looking forward to being able to battle through the full 50 minutes today. Green flag is ready. The 750S as the leading car will take them around, and it's Michael O'Brien on pole position. And the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, brilliant place to drive one of these cars.
Fantastic. They can really open up their legs with their 600 plus horsepower. Of course, these cars have normal horsepower figure is 585, but with the push-to-pass button, they'll get an extra 35 horsepower added to that. That's 620 horsepower when they have the button press. And just for the viewers watching the race, the way you can know whether they've pressed the button or not for the push-to-pass is that the daytime running lights will be flashing. So if you see the daytime running lights in front of the cars flashing, that means they're using their allocated boost value there. So and they will have on the car a display. So I think it's a green bar that keeps going down and down the more you use it. So they actually are able to keep a track on how much they're using.
Michael O'Brien starts on pole position with Will Aspin lining up alongside. Then it's Harry Burgoyne and Lucas Sundal lining up on row 2. Sam Nesser will be on the inside of the third row with Tom Holland for company. Then it's Alexander West and Michael Broadhurst alongside. That's another of the Pro-Am cars. Ashley Marshall, Ginetta graduate, 9th on the grid. Ollie Webb, the redoubtable, the hugely experienced Ollie Webb will start 10th. 11th, Maurice Henry, who didn't get a drive yesterday. The car retired before he was able to get into the Speedworks car. Tim Docker on the outside of that row ahead of Danny Henry and then Bradley Ellis. And it is going to be John Lancaster in Ron Trenker's car that rounds out the grid. John Lancaster, Bradley Ellis, Ollie Webb. Those are 3 massively experienced drivers, and up from near the back. And then you've got the likes of Sam Nesser, Harry Burgoyne, Tom Holland, Will Aspin, young guns with a good track record already. It's a quality lineup, this.
What a great lineup. I mean, as you were saying those names, I'm thinking, there's going to be some fireworks here. And to see Ellis and Lancaster at the back of the grid, they are literally the last 2 cars on the grid for the start of this race. They are both very, very fast guys. And as we said, you mentioned yesterday, Ellis always on the mission, isn't he? He's going to try and get to the front. And Lancaster posted the fastest race lap yesterday. So, again, another very experienced guy. And so you watch those 2 guys from the back of the grid, they'll be trying to make their way forward. But there's some young guns at the front, and they are rapid.
Very true. Yeah, Bradley Ellis, British GT champion a good few years ago. But, some star drivers have won British GT, haven't they, over the years, Tommy?
A few.
Including the gentleman stood alongside me. The other aspect of Tommy's role, I should briefly point out, is that he's also the driving standards advisor. Yesterday's race was so good, you've never had such a leisurely dinner, I don't think.
Honestly, I could not believe that. We thought, with the Pro class obviously introduced to the series, I thought the judicial room is going to be a busy one. But it didn't happen. But I think it's going to get even more hotly contested this series, and so I think I'll be busy on that one.
OK, let's see how we fare then in race number 2. It is McLaren Trophy Europe at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. It is a 50-minute race with mandatory pit stops. The last car to slot into place will be that of John Lancaster, just there hiding under the lighting gantry. As you look then, the adverse camber at Brands Hatch, the 5-second board shown, the green flag is waved at the back to say that everybody is where they need to be. You see the red light come on, and in a moment, race 2 of the weekend will be go with a good start made by Michael O'Brien from pole position. Good start also by Sam Nesser's turquoise car as they make that run up towards paddock for the first time. On the outside line, Will Aspin then in the SMC car in the Gulf livery. Couldn't quite go around the outside of O'Brien. Leaves the door open for Harry Burgoyne, the Scotsman, to try to get up the inside. His teammate. That didn't work, and Aspin again is on the outside line as they get to Druids. Out of nowhere, Ollie Webb has joined the party. He's made an absolute rocket ship start and is in 5th place, Ollie Webb, as they come downhill, and he started 10th on the grid. Drama there is that Harry Burgoyne's car that slowed right down. Everybody avoids him. Looks like he's having to do a sort of Control-Alt-Delete, a systems reset to get going again.
Very unfortunate there for the SMC car. We'll see what happens. We can see already Michael O'Brien making use of his push-to-pass with the lights flashing at the front there. And second place decided not to do it, but still following him into Hawthorns.
Yeah, it's being savvy, isn't it? Knowing when to use the extra power, when to use it, when to save it maybe for late in the race. Were there to be a safety car towards the end and everybody bunches up, you want a bit in reserve to try to combat the opposition. There, heading up through Sheen Curve is Sam Nesser, just ahead of Ollie Webb, 4th from 10th on the grid. What an opening lap. Ollie Webb, we know he's a very committed driver. He's been a loyal McLaren servant for many, many years. Out wide goes Sam Nesser, who only a couple of years ago was in the Junior Fiesta Championship. But at the end of lap number 1, I'm afraid to say that the Burgoyne car has not yet got to the end of sector 2. It's very slow, but it is still circulating as the leaders come up towards the line. O'Brien with the lights flashing, meaning he's using the extra power to try to pull away. He's nearly half a second to the good. Aspin is 2nd, Sam Nesser is 3rd, Ollie Webb is 4th, Lucas Sundal is in 5th, Tom Holland is 6th, Bradley Ellis up to 8th, John Lancaster is 9th.
Again, Fireworks from Ellis there, starting at the back of the grid, already up into 8th position. So a great start, both for Ellis and, of course, Ollie Webb. He was absolutely on fire at the line.
Harry Burgoyne's car that we saw slow out of Graham Hill Bend has pitted. Hopefully there it is. They won't lose the lap. The team goes to work, but if nothing else, they want to get the car back out for mileage for both drivers to get them used to the new car, the new power, and greater experience. Real shame that Burgoyne and Zach Meakin second in yesterday's race. Now, 40 there, you can see, is the Tom Holland car that he shares with Nick Halstead, touring car racer. That was the Pro-Am winning entry yesterday. Good little battle going on here. Holland, Broadhurst, Ellis, Lancaster. Good names, all in a big battle.
Yes, what these guys need to watch, though, is that they need to give these cars back to, obviously, their counterparts, and they cannot use too much of, obviously, the boost button is one, but also tires, brakes, and everything else. So, yes, it's hotly contested right now, and so it should be, but they need to be thinking about how they're going to give this car back to their co-drivers in good place and in good condition so they can race it to the end.
And Will Aspin has already picked up a track limit warning from Paddock Hill Bend on, I think, the first lap. Leaders go through then, 9/10 it is the margin. O'Brien getting away just a little bit. And look, as they round Paddock, that's Harry Burgoyne's car that has rejoined. So he's dropped off the lead lap. But if they can get the car to the end and score points in class, that could be valuable come the end of the year. Yeah,
it's very important. I'm really happy to see that car out. SMC has had obviously a difficult time yesterday with the other car.
Yeah.
I'm glad in a way that it isn't the same car, but good to see they're out on track, and Harry did a good job there staying on the inside line as the trail came past.
Of course, for somebody like Harry Burgoyne, new out of single-seater racing, it's one thing racing a closed car, it's another thing having the extra power, but it's another sharing. You know, yesterday he didn't drive in the race until it was his stint, so he's watched the first half, then he got on board the car. That's something completely new to a single-seater driver.
It is, and with that lack of experience, I mean, he performed incredibly well. He was under a lot of pressure at the front of the field, and yeah, fighting for the lead, in fact. So what a great start for him yesterday.
Really impressive. 69, Brad Ellis then, bouncing over the curb at Westfield, and he charges on in pursuit of Michael Broadhurst, who's another much underrated GT peddler. Always very quick as Michael, goes really strongly as the lead cars then swing through Stirling's. Michael O'Brien, though, is really being on that power where he needs to. On this lap, he's done two absolute best sectors as he tries to build the gap over Will Aspin. Now, Michael O'Brien is another McLaren loyalist, if you like, whereas Will Aspin new into the cars, having raced Porsches for the last few seasons, and he didn't get into yesterday's race, so everything is new to Will at the moment.
Yes, and Will did a fantastic job in qualifying. His P2 on the grid, obviously, did a fantastic job, obviously, and now chasing the lead. He's only so about 1.9 seconds, so Michael is obviously able to you know, stretch out a bit of a gap there. But yeah, another one of these young guns, Aspin and Nasser, now in third place, doing a great job as well. His lap times are not bad either.
Yeah, Michael O'Brien's last lap, best of the race, and it was the perfect lap with absolute best across all three sectors. The lead is already 1.9 seconds over Will Aspin in second place. There's Alexander West. Now, he's fallen back a little bit into 12th place. He was 7th on the grid, so as some of those hot shoes from the back have made progress, they've moved ahead of him, but Alexander West is still leading the AM category, and that's the main aim for him.
That's it, yeah, he's obviously did that yesterday. 2 in a row, that's his objective. But yeah, still he doesn't have anyone to race against at the moment, but we'll see what happens after the pit stops.
Yeah, because he, as the category winner yesterday, will have to make the longer pit stop. 6 places gained by Bradley Ellis and Ollie Webb, and they are therefore the 2 big movers as Harry Burgoyne, as I say, back into the race and now looking at a proper pace. The big frustration for Harry is that they've dropped off the lead lap, and they were marginal to do that. You know, as he came out of the pits, the leader was there, so they didn't miss out by much, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get that lead lap back now. O'Brien and Aspin, 2.4 seconds now the margin. Let's look further back. Here are some of the really fierce fights. They're going through number 80, John Lancaster, Bradley Ellis ahead of him, Michael Broadhurst ahead of the pair in 7th place.
Yeah, Lancaster wasn't quite as fiery as Ellis at the beginning of the race, but now he's caught up with him and obviously showing his pace that he had yesterday as well. So Lancaster really well dialed into this car at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely right. Michael O'Brien, still the quickest man out there. John Lancaster a bit stuck in traffic though, so that's going to affect his lap times, isn't it?
Yes, but Michael O'Brien knows that he needs to make up that gap. In the pit stops, they lose 7 seconds, so he's pushing very hard. He's aware of that, and that's what he needs to keep doing. Try and stretch that gap a little bit more if he can.
Yeah, because as Tommy suggests, the car behind didn't even get into the race yesterday, so it has no compensation time to serve in the pits. So yeah, at the moment the gap is 2.4, but Michael O'Brien needs to stretch it north of 7 seconds. Good little fight going on here. 88 is the Eric Behrens Ashley Marshall car. And just up the road ahead is Maurice Henry for Speedworks and the car that he shares with Fiona James. So that's traded on this lap. The Speedworks car in kind of Minardi colours of years past. But down towards Clearways come the leaders. And Michael O'Brien head down, still trying to build that gap. The other fascination is going to be here, Harry Burgoyne, because he's kind of joined into that leading gaggle. But now with the car hopefully healthy again, let's see what his pace actually is.
Car is absolutely normal now. You can see his lap time 28.0, his own pace. And great to see that. So nothing, whatever the problem was, it's all sorted. Maybe it was a control delete. You know, it's all back to normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of power cycle type mission. He's just got himself up there past John Lancaster. So the team's presumably telling drivers, you don't need to worry about that car. It's not on the lead lap, just let it go. But it does illustrate how rapidly Harry Burgoyne is going. Only the second race he's had in this, as the sister car in second place of Will Aspin comes towards us. There on the power, Sam Nesser. Behind him is Ollie Webb. And then Lucas Sundal, who also missed out yesterday. The car retired before he got on board the ALM Motorsport entry. That's in 5th place.
Yeah, that's the young and the, I won't call it old, but certainly very experienced. But two spectrums there. Nasser now is going to come under a lot of pressure from Ollie Webb. That said, the lap times are very similar. So Sam Nasser doing a great job there once again, and keeping that third position solid at this stage. But Webb is not far behind.
And before anybody thinks, well, that must mean that these are really easy cars to drive, they're not. You know, you've got a lot of power, you've got aero, they take some mastering.
They do. That said, the cars are really, this is effectively still, you know, basically a Pro-Am series. The cars are built for the AM drivers to really be able to get hold of it. I mean, it's like a lot of horsepower to deal with, but yeah, still a very fast machine.
No question about it. Michael O'Brien yesterday was in fine form as he went on to win the race. The fastest lap yesterday was set early on by Josh Mason. Did a good job, and Josh will be in the second stint in number 43 as the cars now sprint their way along Cooper Straight once again. Lead gap's already up to 4 seconds. Now, Michael O'Brien's going the right way here, isn't he, about countering the extra time to be served in the pits?
Yeah, very, very aware of the gap that he needs to build, obviously by the pit stops, and not the fastest lap of the race there. First guy to actually dip into the 26s in the race. Of course, in qualifying, they've gone faster than that, 26.3. Posted. Incidentally, Jaden Kelly, yesterday's pole time was only 0.02 of a second slower than Michael O'Brien. So these guys are really very evenly matched and doing a great job at the front.
Yesterday's fastest lap of the race ultimately fell to John Lancaster towards the end when he was charging along, as now Sam Nesser, Ollie Webb and Lucas Sundal then getting themselves together. Lucas Sundal there in the white car we didn't see yesterday, but he has been for many, many years, like I think 6 out of the last 7 years, Carrera Cup Scandinavia champion. So he specialises in GT-style cars. OK, it's a bit of a switch from a Porsche to a McLaren when you've spent so long with one brand, but he's certainly an accomplished race driver. Michael O'Brien, race leader, 4.5 seconds up the road now. So out of Druids he goes, and Michael O'Brien heads down the hill through Graham Hill Bend. Fastest lap of the race thus far to Michael, 1:26.9. And he's 4.5 seconds at the start of the lap. Let's see what it is as the cars come along Cooper Straight. You can see the live gap counting up and up and up and up to Will Aspin. 4.9 seconds. It's crept up a bit more as Ollie Webb has a big, big look up the inside of Sam Nesser. Commands the inside line, makes Nesser go the long way round the corner. Ollie Webb on the power. Sam Nesser is on the power. Ollie Webb deployed it fractionally quicker, but he's not benefited, as Sundal in the white car is right there as well.
That's a great scrap going on there, and good on Ollie to show his nose, but they all sort of did really well around 30s and kept from contact. So good driving by everybody, and as you say, Sundal now getting very close to that battle.
Webb up the inside, and the road opened up for him. Nicely done. Then he got the switch back from the inside at Westfield all the way up Dingledale, and Ollie Webb in the car that he shares with Ryan James now into 3rd place. It'll be interesting now to see Sam Nessa's state of mind? You know, does that really throw him off kilter, or is he going to be able to hang on to fourth and keep Sundal, a more experienced driver, at bay? The pit window, incidentally, is now open. So if you've got your slower driver in first, now's the time to get him into the pit lane and put the faster one behind the wheel.
Yes, in race 2, the pit window opens earlier than compared to race 1. So exactly right, David. So they will be looking at pitting the slower driver of the two as soon as they can to maximize the performance for the second part of the race.
And if you're a soloist, it's perhaps less relevant, but what you don't want is to be stuck in traffic. So if you are Alexander West, for example, and you've got cars all around you and you're not making progress, now's a good time to head for the pit road and get out of the traffic, get the mandatory stop served. Number 80, which is John Lancaster, has had the driving standards warning flag. So he is incurring track limit offences. As you look at Ollie Webb getting away from Sam Nessa, and Lucas Sundal is staying with him. There is Sundal, the Swedish driver, turning out of Hawthorne up towards Westfield. Sam Nessa has done a good job of defending that place.
Yes, really, again, another 17-year-old here doing incredibly well amongst the really very experienced drivers around him. And incidentally, the track limits, there's quite a lot of track limits now on our screens, and it's generally around turns 1 and 3. So out of Paddock Hill and out of Graham Hill Bend, that's where they like to use the extra bit of room, but the officials are definitely on top of that.
So the race leader then, Michael O'Brien, staying out for a little bit longer as Ollie Webb continues to chase on in third place. There in second is Will Aspin, 6 seconds back. It's going to be interesting this when we get the pit stops, whether Michael O'Brien has been able to pull out the full 7, and then you're going to have Jaden Kelly taking on the reigning champion Alejandro Gapet. Now that's going to be a battle to savour, isn't it, in the second stint?
Really looking forward to see Alejandro back in the car. We haven't seen him this year yet, obviously with the problems yesterday, and that's exactly right. Will is doing a great job keeping the car competitive in P2, and again, no penalty at the pit stops, and Alejandro is a very fiery driver, so they're looking very strong for a win here today.
True enough, although Alejandro, of course, is a little bit behind the others in terms of track knowledge, not having raced here before and missing out on yesterday. That's Josh Mason getting ready to take over the 4th placed car. Another of the Greystone GT entries. He will relay Sam Nessa. There is his car, and to the eye, Nessa looking a bit nearer to Ollie Webb as they came towards Hawthorne's. Very wide there, almost up onto the grass went Sam Nessa. He's certainly charging along.
He's pushing that car very, very hard, but doing a fantastic job there. And yeah, P4 there, very, very good positioning. Let's see what Josh can do when he gets in the car.
Lucas Sundal in 5th, Tom Holland in 6th. Ollie Webb, by the way, we haven't touched on this, but not only has he come charging up from 10th on the grid to 3rd, he's also leading in Pro-Am. So Ryan James, who we know is a quick driver as well, will have to try to maintain that car's performance in the second stint. If you ignore Harry Burgoyne, because that was a lap 1 pit stop, we haven't yet had one of the regulation pit stops served. So the faster drivers carry on trying to give the best chance possible for their co-driver.
Yeah, Ollie's certainly the man of the race at this stage, starting from where he was at the beginning, and now running a podium position. Great performance there. We knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time to see Ollie performing again at the top, and yeah, great to see the Greystone car there on the podium.
Under the what might have been heading, Harry Burgoyne's fastest lap is the 2nd fastest lap of the race. So the only person that's done a quicker lap is Michael O'Brien, which kind of is good in the sense of it shows you how Harry Burgoyne is going and how good he is, but it rather exaggerates the frustration that he's a lap down.
Yeah, unfortunately, that issue, whatever that, we'll find out obviously later after the race what happened there, but no doubt this lad has got a lot of speed. And the SMC car now is running as strong as normal, and yeah, let's hope they can make a few more positions, and they deserve that with the pace they have. But this is the good thing about these young guys coming in, and the pro class really introduced these guys, and with that they introduced the Trophy Academy, which is and it's actually headed by Rob Bell, who's the ex-factory driver from McLaren, yes. And designed to allow McLaren to have their young pro drivers filled and competing in the trophy. So it's just a good window for them to see these young guys coming through, and obviously with a view to them becoming potentially factory drivers for McLaren.
Sure. There are only 3 cars that have not got a track limit penalty, and significantly, one of them is Michael O'Brien in the lead. Not only is he being quick, not only is he now just over 7 seconds ahead to negate his longer pit stop time, but he's not put a wheel over the white line.
Well, this is it. I think I've said a few things about Michael O'Brien yesterday. I was kind of holding back here because people think that I'm managing him or anything. It's not that at all. The guy really is a top-notch performer, and he every time he gets in the car, he just delivers. And he's doing, again, another outstanding job.
And his father, Mike O'Brien, of course, was a very accomplished single-seater racer turned touring car racer. It was Mike O'Brien that had the Holden Commodore in the British Touring Car Championship for a couple of seasons, Alan Docking run car. There is the lap down, Harry Burgoyne. But as I say, his lap times are really, really impressive here. So the pace is good. It's dropped back on the road, I think, behind John Lancaster for the moment. But the car turning its way up now through Westfield, through Sheen Curve. And whatever positioning it does gain towards the end, it's really only class points that the team can think of. He's 15th on the road, but 5th in class. So in terms of points, it is definitely worth persevering.
It is, for sure, yes, absolutely.
So nobody yet for the pit lane out of that leading gaggle. That means that it's still O'Brien ahead of Aspin, Webb from Nessa, from Sundal, from Tom Holland in 6th place, the leading, the 2nd place Pro-Am driver, I should say. Then it's the Broadhurst-Ellis battle here. Brad Ellis, number 69, has got a bit stuck behind Michael Broadhurst as Maurice Henry pits in the Speedworks car to give way to Fiona James. There is the car down the pit road. Collaboration this year between Speedworks and Racelab. The car entered under a Racelab entrance license, but it's really a Speedworks car. And there, an effort made on the inside line by Brad Ellis, and that should just about work. I think, Tommy, on the inside.
Oh, yes, that was... who's on the outside there?
Michael Broadhurst.
Michael Broadhurst, yeah. He didn't have quite a lot of room there on the exit. I didn't see the full move there, but Brad Ellis has always a very a hard driver, fair but hard, whichever way you look at it. But he gained the position, so well done.
Yeah, that's pro on pro, isn't it? You know, you've got the big dogs, if you like, squabbling amongst themselves there. Fiona James aboard number 49 with the Valero livery. And that car ready to blast back out on track. Race leaders in the meanwhile are on lap number 13. And let's have another look at this big dive up the inside from Bradley Ellis on Michael Broadhurst.
Yeah, to be honest, you know, very wide door open there by Broadhurst, so really inviting Ellis to put his nose in there. I don't see anything wrong at this stage with that.
Ollie Webb is into the pit lane. Tom Holland is in. Michael Broadhurst is in. Bradley Ellis is in. John Lancaster is in. So the floodgates have opened, and about half the field, seemingly, now serving the regulation pit stop, all of which has got to be done to a time, pit in to pit out, and for some, a longer pit stop because of their successes yesterday.
Interestingly, the gap now is 8 seconds from O'Brien to Aspin, and I mean, you know, you couldn't write it better, really, in terms of what's happening there for the Greystone GT car. It's they've opened the gap that they needed. Let's see what the pit stops do for that.
Interesting, though, that SMC have kept Will Aspin out, because with all due deference, Alejandro Gapet, reigning champion, knows the car better. Would it not be an idea to get him in as quickly as possible? Or is this a way of saying to Will Aspin, sorry you didn't get a race yesterday, have another couple of laps and tweak the pressure on Gapet a little bit? Well,
I get the feeling that these guys are very evenly matched, even though Gapet hasn't been around here very much. I think he'll be very quickly up to speed. He's a very quick lad, current champion of the series, and yeah, can't wait to see him perform again.
So now the order is going to shuffle while the regulation stops are served. Michael O'Brien goes through once again, puts 14 laps in the book, 29 minutes and change on the clock here. Will Aspin goes through. That's Ryan James joining in from the pits, and the lead gap 8.1 seconds. That's another lap done by Will Aspin. So Alejandro Gapet's going to have quite a bit of work to do. Alexander West is still leading AM, and Ryan James, I think, should still be okay to head the Pro-Am battle. As you look there at Michael O'Brien, the race leader, making this look very easy indeed. But with clever use of the extra power early on, he's been able to shake off the opposition and now just drive his own race.
The question mark now is, has O'Brien used too much of his boost to get that gap? He needed to use, obviously, a lot of it. He's still using it. You can see the lights flashing there, even on his own, there coming into Hawthorne. So he's obviously pushing to get that gap going. Will that be enough for Jaden Kelly if he gets in the car and finds out that the boost is gone?
Yeah, especially if there is a late race safety car that bunches up the pack, because that's when you need it to either preserve or gain a place. Down to Sterling's comes O'Brien, then number 17 back onto the patter. Now let's see whether he's going to be in this time. There is Ryan James losing track position to Josh Mason, who has taken over, I think, from Sam Nesser. No, it's still Sam Nesser at the wheel. That car's not yet stopped. We saw Josh Mason getting ready. Sam Nesser has yet to come in. So getting a bit caught up in the traffic there. Ryan James on his outlap, playing himself in. But there he is, having taken over the car leading in Pro-Am. See the speed differential between somebody just new into a stint and those that are well up to speed. But the lead gap now 9 seconds, O'Brien to Aspin, and Sam Nesser another 5 seconds back ahead of Lucas Sundal in 4th place.
Great to see Sundal there in top 4. We didn't see much of him yesterday.
No.
And as you said before, he's a lot of experience in Porsche Cup, several years, 5-6 years in Porsche Cup, and very experienced driver, but very new to the car. And I'm assuming the track. I don't know if he knows much around Brands Hatch or has done much around Brands Hatch.
I don't think he has.
So
no.
a great performance. You know, his lap times are very good. 27.8 best. Yeah, almost equal to a second fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, he's very much on the pace of those around him, isn't he here? Lucas Sundal in 4th place. There going through is another of the Scandinavians, Eric Behrens. He will take the car over from Ashley Marshall. It's Ashley at the wheel of it at the moment, number 88, in the black and gold colours. Eric Behrens drove in the series last year. I think he was a soloist, whereas Ashley Marshall's come through the Ginetta ranks. Another young, quick driver, done a bit of GT4 racing in the UK. So now looking at maybe a long-term programme with McLaren. This is the fight for 10th place overall, but it's a slightly contorted situation given that there's half the grid yet to serve the mandatory pit stop. So the order is going to shuffle again. And of course, for the moment, this all promotes Harry Burgoyne, but he'll drop back when the car serves the regulation stop. More for the pit lane I can see out of the window, including the car from 3rd place, Sam Nesser. This little fight heads down towards the right of Clark Curve, where you've got Nick Halstead, number 40, and 88, Ashley Marshall. 11th and 12th overall, these two.
Yes, and Behrens was, of course, the AM champion of last year. So he's done a few endurance races before coming to join the McLaren Trophy last year, but not done a great deal, and but very fast AM, and really loves his racing. He's always very, very positive, always with a smile on his face when he's at the racetrack, and yeah, really, really useful driver.
Philip Carter, number 14, getting up past Ron Trenker. So that's for position, 11th overall. And we've still got O'Brien, Aspin, Sundal, Alexander West and Tim Docker to make their regulation pit stops, as we're just about at halfway, 25 minutes and a few seconds still on the clock. Michael O'Brien has done an absolutely outstanding job in both stints. The closing stint yesterday, the opening stint today. The car is positioned absolutely where it needs to be, up the curb, but not exceeding track limits. He's got the fastest lap. He's not only taken the race lead, he's built enough of a gap to overcome the extra time to be served in the pits. And he's not done yet. Here he comes for another lap.
And still using the boost. So he's still obviously still got some boost left. Still trying to open that advantage really as best as they can, so that if there's anything happening in the pit stop that perhaps goes against them, is, you know, sort of building that buffer for Jaden Kelly. Not that Jaden needs it. He's very rapid, obviously, but
yes,
you know, the opposition will be up on top of them when they serve those extra 7 seconds in the pits.
And Will Aspin is in, and so now Sam Nesser relays Josh Mason. So the car from second place pits, and that puts Lucas Sundal up into second spot for now. There is Josh Mason joining in just ahead of Ryan James. They are in different classes. That's Pro ahead of Pro-Am at the moment. And Ryan James already into a stint, so he's in a bit more of a rhythm. Josh Mason thrown into the car, sent out of the pits and told to deliver.
Yes, obviously Josh there with the cold tyres, and Ryan already done 1 or 2 laps ahead of him in that sense. But Josh should have just a little bit more pace there against Ryan at this point in the race.
So the last couple of pit stops being cycled through, you've got Tim Docker in the pits and Will Aspin. Tim Docker is a soloist, whereas Will Aspin, or Waspin as he became known in Porsche racing, will give over to Alejandro Gapet, who we heard from on the grid. And Gapet's going to be really interesting, but he's going to have to work very, very hard to get onto terms with this car. Michael O'Brien is stretching this to the very end of the window, isn't he, as he comes across the line, and he's on the boost again as he comes through, heading up now towards Paddock Hill Bend once again. 18 laps in the book.
Yes, I'll be surprised if he doesn't come in at the end of this lap, but we'll see what happens. Incidentally, Sundal at the moment in second position, obviously with the pit stops happening, but doing extremely well there. But he is really hanging on a black and white for track limits. So he's already been given a black and white for Sundal. He needs to really rein it in on especially turns 1 and 3.
And Sundal now does head to the pit lane to give way to Mikael Karlsson, who, if you go back to 1991, you find in Formula Opel. Had a single-seater career, then had a 20-year break, came back in the Thunder Cars Sweden. He's raced in TCR Scandinavia, so a two-part career for Mikael Karlsson, who will take over 48 from Lucas Sundal. It's in the pits at the moment. As also is Harry Burgoyne back in, but this time it's for the regulation stop to give way to Zach Meekin.
Yeah, it's great to see that car. Actually, it was as high as P5. Of course, the pit stops are happening, and obviously people move up and down at the moment. But great to see the SMC car on full speed and actually in the points, or not in the points, but going up the leaderboard. Of course, we will drop back down now after the pit stops. But let's hope they can get a few more positions by the end of the race.
Now, Ryan James versus Nick Halstead here for the class lead in Pro-Am. Nick Halstead, class winner yesterday, into GT cars again after a couple of years in the British Touring Car Championship. He was a GT3 winner at Spa back in, 21, 22 in British GT. But right now, Nick Halstead looking as though a move is imminent against Ryan James. The two of them absolutely together coming out of Stirling's. Now Nick Halstead needs to work out where the move comes and when he can deploy the power.
Yeah, it's a great battle there on the Pro-Am class as well, and just seeing Kelly out now. What pace is he doing? I'm just trying to look at the screen.
So O'Brien's just handing over to Jaden Kelly. That's in the pits,
yeah.
And Alexander West is in as well. So you've got the AM and the Pro class leaders in, and the Pro-Am lead battle is here. And this is a really good fight. Ryan James having to go defensive. Nick Halstead right there behind him. Out of Druids they come. So Alexander West and Michael O'Brien to Jaden Kelly. Longer pit stops because they were class winners yesterday. Alexander West, let me tell you, is on his way out of the pit lane. Jaden Kelly having to sit and watch the clock. And Ryan James now looking as though he might be a little bit happier in that defence over Nick Halstead. That is Jaden Kelly coming down the pit lane. At the end of the next lap, we'll get a proper idea of the gap between the top two. So Jaden Kelly comes out now. The hazard lights were flashing. That means the pit lane speed limiter was on. It's when the headlights flash, you know that he's on the boost, on the extra power. So Jaden Kelly doesn't have to force the issue on this opening lap of his stint because he's got a big enough lead. Nick Halstead then really is on the attack, isn't he? He's all over the back of Ryan James. Here they come up through Sheen Curve once again. Ride the curve through the right hand to set the car up for the left of Stirling's. Halstead has spent a lap, maybe two now, staring at the back of Ryan James. He's not really yet been able to make the move.
No, but it's a great battle on that class, and I'm not seeing any of the lights flashing, so none of them are using their boost, so they are saving it. Good pass there into Clearway, so it goes wide.
Yeah, he got on the dirt, didn't he, and ran wide, so all the speed carried in, ran out wide, and Ryan James not only takes the place, but gets on the power to stretch the margin. Take that, Nick.
And look at the difference that he opened up just there where he pushed the button, so it really does make a difference, that extra 35 horsepower. And yeah, good job there by Ryan James, using the button at the right time. But this is not over yet. This is really hotly contested at the moment.
Absolutely right. So for 5th place overall for the Pro-Am lead, they drop down the hill once again, going out of Graham Hill Bend now along Cooper Straight. So Nick Halstead has been the quicker of the two over the last few laps, but hasn't yet been able to make that move stick. Briefly ahead, yes, as we saw for a second, but not yet able to secure the class lead. 19 minutes of the race to go. Now, we're waiting for the leaders to come up across the timing line. Jaden Kelly is the man in charge, and the Greystone GT car is on to lap number 21. Jaden Kelly's advantage over Alejandro Gapet is what we need to be monitoring, and it's 7.8 seconds with a much, much better pit stop from SMC. 1 minute 21.7 for Gapet, 1 minute 26.5 for Kelly.
Yes, but that's obviously added the 7 seconds to the time. So, in fact, they've done a great job to get Kelly out as they did, because they still have that gap to the SMC car. So, again, it just highlights what a great job Michael O'Brien did in that first stint.
Yeah. Now, on the subject of pit stops, you know when it's not your day, it's not your day. Zach Meakin and Harry Burgoyne are being given a 20-second time penalty for a short pit stop, but so is the leader. Number 17 has a 20-second time penalty for a short pit stop. So now, Jaden Kelly, who is 7.8 seconds ahead, short on the pit stop, he's going to have to stretch the margin to over 20 seconds, and he's got 18 minutes in which to do it. What were we saying early on about the car controller, making sure you're looking at the clock and getting the car out at the right split second?
Absolutely, the team comes into play on all of this, and frankly, when I looked at the time, I thought that looked really good for the Greystone GT pit stop, but obviously too good, wasn't it? And that is a very hard penalty to take and make up. There's, 20 seconds is just a huge amount to make up.
Right, so 20 seconds go the way of number 17, 20 seconds also go the way of 68, but that kind of doesn't really matter because it's off the lead lap anyway. But it is going to be a big factor now as far as Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien are concerned. And sometimes we talk about pit stop penalties, and that's because a driver has been speeding in the pit lane. But if the pit stop is short, that's kind of down to the team.
I'm afraid so. It's obviously the management of that timing. They need to stay stationary in the pits, and when the car is released, is really obviously in control. The team's in control of that. We don't know everything that goes down there. There may be some technical issues that allow the car to go earlier. We don't know. We'll find out later after the race. But it is such a shame after such a great job by Michael O'Brien in that first stint. He must be absolutely gutted for that. But it's not over yet. There could still be a pace car. Everybody bunches up, and we'll see. But it's difficult to make up that deficit.
Now, Klaus Halsig, number 69, a little bit nervy there going through Hawthorns as you look at number 17. So Jaden Kelly, who thought he might have inherited a lead that he could preserve to the end, has now got to do 16 minutes plus of qualifying laps. Just go, go, go. And Alejandro Gapert, if the message has got through to him, doesn't need to do anything other than just sit within 20 seconds. Okay, you'd love to win the race with the checkered flag and be the natural winner, but a win is a win after the disappointment of yesterday.
Exactly. So that would be just rewarding in the sense that they will get the result, the best result, obviously, for this race. What a big blow that was there. But we'll see. We'll see how it unfolds. And the gap now is 11.5 seconds. And of course, Herbert now is just probably managing that gap and not really too worried about making too much stride onto the lead right now.
We have had the change for the lead in Pro-Am, by the way. Nick Halstead has got himself past Ryan James as we look at number 80, which is now Ron Trenker, and he's 5th in Pro-Am, 10th overall. There's confirmation of the full classification. Tim Docker at the back at the moment, going after Danny Henry. Fiona James 12th, going after Klaus Halsig. And Zach Meakin still blasting on, but there's another time penalty heading the way of number 68. Zach Meakin was really quick yesterday, so big frustration there. Bittersweet weekend, really, for the SMC team. Side by side into Hawthorns, a big long look at the inside. That was Ron Trenker having a go at Klaus Halsig, but he kind of backed out of that. Didn't really have the confidence to commit to the move. There is number 80, that is Ron Trenker. He's not got a problem, I don't think, but he was just not totally confident he could make that move work.
There was slight hesitation there, maybe not knowing what the other car was. Maybe that's what it was. We'll see if he has a problem or not.
And this is, in real terms, the race leader. Alejandro Gapert then, 14 minutes to go. He's got to stay within 20 seconds of the lead car to win the race. Over the timing line he goes, and 11.5 seconds. So he's within, and that means he's on target to inherit the race victory. Now, how close behind is Mikael Karlsson in number 48. He's taken over from Lucas Sundal, and he's outside the 20 seconds. There's Fiona James getting up on the inside of Ron Trenker. That's for 12th place. Fiona James goes through, nice pass, but at the moment, Jaden Kelly is set to lose only 1 place.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive, really. He'll still be on the podium at the end of this if it stays this way. From the lap time point of view, both drivers are lapping pretty much equal, 28.5. So, yeah, there is really little chance that Kelly can really stretch out any more of that gap in real terms.
And Alejandro Gapert will be, as we say, managing this situation. He is actually lapping quicker in the sectors anyway, so he's got the pace. Now, Josh Mason in 4th He's quite a long way back after the longer pit stop to Mikael Karlsson. The last lap from Josh, though, was a 1:28.9, and Mikael Karlsson a 31.9, 7.4 seconds between them. That could change possibly by the end. That's your Pro-Am leader, Nick Halstead, victorious yesterday. So they've overcome the longer pit stop to be on target for another class win, Nick Halstead and Tom Holland. So after a couple of tough years at the back of a touring car grid, 2 victories this weekend will be a real confidence builder for Nick Halstead, who came from Ginessa's into GT racing, going back to McLaren's, in which he had that GT3 win, going back to Spa 2022. So he heads up the hill towards Sheen Curve, and the race has got 12 3/4 minutes still to go. Alexander West, by the way, a bit like yesterday, has checked out as far as the AM battle is concerned. He's way up the road.
Yeah, once again, West dominating the class and inside the top 10 overall.
Yeah. Zach Meekin and Harry Burgoyne, even though they were off the lead lap, now that the AMs are in the cars and are slower than their pros, they too are off the lead lap, and that means that Zach Meekin, from being 15th, is up into 10th. However, then you put the 20-second penalty on for the short pit stop. There is the potential that he will slide back down the pole, so to speak, but at least that car has got very, very good pace from both drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're well balanced, those 2 drivers, and again, Will Aspin doing a fantastic job in qualifying, having not been in the car yesterday. So yeah, we're going to definitely see more of these guys in the next few races.
Yeah, it's, I think, set fair, isn't it, for a really good season for McLaren Trophy Europe, which will be at 4 out of its 5 events with GT World Challenge Europe, and then its final at Paul Ricard will be supporting the French GT Championship. So, as ever, a nice variety of circuits that the series will go to over the course of the year, such as Monza and Spa, for example, the next stops. And it's been a really popular addition to this weekend. Never have we had McLaren Trophy race in the UK, but around the Grand Prix circuit here, not that far from McLaren's Woking base, the cars have looked really good, giving us 2 really interesting races.
Yeah, I mean, these sort of circuits really are made for these cars, with 600 plus horsepower, and it just gives them that possibility of stretching their engines and really enjoying the full Grand Prix circuit. Yeah, it was about time that we had a round in Britain, and
Yes.
Being the first race of the season is even better, and the sun is shining over the last couple of days, so it's been great, fantastic.
What more could you want? Yeah. Given how many British teams there are in the series, you kind of think it's a surprise we've not had a British event before, but I think now it's here to stay. Ryan James then goes through 6th overall, but he's dropping back in class, isn't he? He's falling away from Nick Halstead now, so that margin increases. Nick Halstead, number 40, goes through Druids, and with 10 minutes of the race to go now, the Kelly to Capet lead gap 13 seconds. It's still creeping up a little bit.
Ryan James actually making up time on Halstead on this lap, but he's using the boost, but it was a good half a second faster than Halstead on this lap.
So Jaden Kelly, race leader. Most people, I think, have found somebody to race against other than Jaden at the moment. He really is fighting the clock. He wants to just push and push and push. The gap's up again, 14.3 seconds. It's getting a bit marginal now.
That's getting a little bit nerve-wracking there for the, for Hepert. He needs to really maybe up his, I don't know what his last lap was a 29.1 against a 28.0. So over a second faster than Hepert was Kelly on this lap.
Yeah, Jaden Kelly continuing to stretch the margin, 20 being the magic number. He's got this 20-second time penalty for a short pit stop, so if he's ahead by 20 seconds and a thousandth, then that's good enough. But right now, it isn't enough, but he is continuing to stretch that gap. What was it, around 8 seconds when we had him into the car? And he certainly built it. Not quite double the gap, but he's not far off. As you look there at number 8, that's Alexander West. That's your leading AM. He's in 9th place overall. One of the more experienced AM racers out there is Alexander West. And again, because he's so experienced and in this opposition so good, he's a bit lonely, got no one to race against.
He's looking lonely there, but I'm sure he's still enjoying driving the cars. He was very complimentary of the way the car felt yesterday, and yeah, the weather is good. I'm sure he's still enjoying it. But a little bit surprised about Hepert's pace at the moment. Wonder if it's an issue, or maybe the fact that he didn't have many laps around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit is actually a factor against someone like Jaden Kelly. He opened up something like 6 seconds on Hepert, and that's really surprising.
Is there sometimes a case, a bit like when you're trying to protect a championship win and you let people go, you almost end up letting too many people pass. Is there a similar situation where you think, okay, I don't have to go flat out, I just have to manage this gap, but actually you end up going too slowly? You kind of, not fall asleep, but you go so slowly, or you're so careful that things get away from you. The gap opens up without you realising that you're going a bit too slowly.
You can kind of lose your rhythm if you do that.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think he just relaxed a little too much, or it could be an issue. It could have some kind of issue that is obviously stopping him from lapping a little bit faster than that. I mean, there's literally another second a lap there between the two. So I can only think of something going on in the cockpit there that we are not aware of that is stopping Hepert from upping his pace.
Because neither of them are doing green sectors, personal bests, as I think you touched on a moment or two ago, but you're absolutely right. In each sector, it's advantage Kelly. He pulls out only by hundredths in the first short sector, and then in the middle sector, 6/10. Now, that's a lot. You keep adding that sector by sector for another 7 minutes, and Jayden Kelly might overcome the handicap after all.
Well, that's it. I think it's just too close for comfort, really. That's a sort of 20-second buffer there, and that the Hepert has. But now it's going to probably go up to about 15 to 16 seconds on this lap. There you go, 16.2. So yeah, he needs to just try and up it a little bit more.
You could almost do with SMC bringing the number 68 car through the pit lane and put it ahead of the leader, and then go a little bit slower and just delay ever so slightly the race leader to bring the sister car back to within the 20 seconds.
Well, maybe you're giving him too many ideas now for SMC to look at that. But just looking at Hepert there coming out of paddock here on that lap, just a little bit on the ragged side. So he is certainly trying. So surprising that the pace just isn't quite there.
But you're right, the gap's 16 seconds with 6 minutes to go. That's number 48, the third place car, Mikael Karlsson. Formula Opel Lotus, Formula 3 Sweden, Formula Renault Euro Cup, more recently touring car race at TCR in Europe and in Scandinavia. So the experienced Karlsson comes onto the Grand Prix part of the circuit. He is not going to benefit from the Kelly penalty because he's so far off the top two, but third overall will be a great result for the car that retired yesterday. So a little bit like we're talking about Alejandro Capet and Will Aspin. Bittersweet weekend with one bad and one good race for both combinations. Jayden Kelly 16 seconds to the good, 6 minutes on the clock, and the race leader has just gone across the line. And Alejandro Capet comes towards the timing line, but it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that gap all the while. So Alejandro Capet last time did a 28.6. The lap that he has just finished is a 29.4. That's a significant time loss, 17 seconds now. I think you're right about there being some issue there.
There's got to be. Hepert is a top driver. He's showed us his pace last year, and there is obviously something that is contributing to that lap time not quite being, close enough. I wouldn't say perhaps not matching Kelly, but it should be a lot closer than that.
Totally agree. As the lead car then goes down towards Hawthorns, you're looking here at the battle pack coming up through Sheen Curve, where 88 Eric Behrens now runs in 6th place, and that has put him up into 2nd in Pro-Am. Ryan James there on the inside being attacked from all sides. Danny Henry's a lap off him. 78 Tim Docker battling with Danny Henry, but now Nick Halstead to Eric Behrens for Pro-Am lead. That gap 6.4 seconds, although Halstead's in clear air, Eric Behrens has been in traffic, so it's not coming down significantly, but Eric Behrens with Ashley Marshall has battled up then into 2nd in Pro-Am. Good effort.
Yeah, great to see Behrens there again, back at the sort of top end of the AM fight, and yeah, he showed us his good skills last year, and he didn't feature in the first race yesterday, but he's doing very well.
And the race has 4 minutes still to go. So Jayden Kelly has gone across the timing line to put 30 laps in the book, and Alejandro Capet will go through, and when he does so, we'll see what the margin is going to be. It's 19.9 seconds. It's nearly done. 4 minutes to go. At least 2 more laps for Jayden Kelly. He has won this. He's overcome the penalty. And yeah, okay, in fairness, we know Jayden is good. He has driven a good stint. But is he so much better than Alejandro Capet? You do seem to think, I'm inclined to go with you. There's a problem for Capet's car.
No, I don't see that. That's too much of a gap to make up on a driver of Capet's ability. So there's got to be another explanation for that.
Yeah. there is the leader. Now, this actually might go against him, look, because all of a sudden he's got a bit of traffic around him and he's not been able to get up the inside there. Let's see if he squeezes through. He does, but he's got another couple of back markers to negotiate. And actually, in the first sector of this lap, Gepert 4/10 quicker. So with the back markers getting in Jaden Kelly's way, this might just affect the gap a little bit come the end of the lap. Let's see. He comes down now towards clearways. We've got 3 minutes on the clock, 2 more laps. Up to the timing line he comes. So Jaden Kelly, the Australian driver, in his sophomore season in McLaren Trophy Europe, came from karting into the series last year and was a winner at Spa, managed by Mark Blundell, and he goes over the line. So number 12, this is the car chasing Alejandro Gepert. He was 19.9 seconds back. He was quicker in sector 1. He was quicker in sector 2. And he breaks the beam, and as he goes by, the gap is 19.1. He has pulled back a little bit of time. It's getting interesting again.
Yes, but of course he has to get through those cars as well, so we'll see how much time or not he will lose on that. But yeah, incidentally, Kelly lost a good couple of, well, a second and a half compared to his last lap. So let's see how that lap turns out for Gepert as he tries to negotiate those 2 cars ahead of him.
But he's actually still quite a long way back. They've just gone out of Surtees. He's yet to come into the corner. He might catch them, not on this lap, maybe on the next one. So now Kelly has to start to pull away again, and he is doing so because he's a 10th quicker than Gepert in the first sector. So it was certainly traffic dependent, but there's another back marker up ahead of the race leader, which is Ryan James, and he's going to encounter him round about Stirling's on this lap as you look at the second place car coming out of Sheen Curve. In fact, the Ryan James back marker car has been negotiated by Jaden Kelly, so not too much time lost there. They'll start the last lap when they come through this time. So you're looking at Gepert in second spot, the reigning champion, the former karter and TCR racer before he switched to McLaren Trophy. So over the timing line goes Jaden Kelly, and on to for the last lap of the race. Now for the Greystone GT entry, where is Gepert? Is he within or outside that 20-second magic number? You can see the live gap. It's 22, 23 seconds, but 19 and a half as they came across the line. So 19 and a half. This is going to be really touch and go. Gepert has got to drive the lap of his life, but so has Kelly.
Do they have any boost left? That's the question.
Interesting. Let's see. The lights don't flash, do they, on Kelly's car? I think he's probably run out. All gone. This is the time to be using it, were you to have any. Gepert, I've not seen his lights flash either. First sector. Let's see. They're getting very, very nervous at Greystone, aren't they? In the first sector, 200ths quicker was Kelly. We've got a half a second margin to play with. It's all going to be against the clock when they come up towards the line. So Kelly then, with a back marker ahead of him, comes up towards Stirling's. He's about to conclude the second sector. And it's Eric Behrens ahead.
Oh.
And he's not going to clear the back marker, I don't think. He encounters him coming down towards clearways. Right, Jaden Kelly is going to win on the road, but it's all out of his hands now. He can't afford to hesitate here and decide which way to go. He's got to be absolutely foot to the boards. Over the line, Jaden Kelly wins on the road, but was 8/10 quicker in the second sector. On that evidence, he will have done enough. Alejandro Gepert is here. So this has got to be an absolutely demon last sector coming up towards the line. Jaden Kelly won on the road, 20 seconds. He has got to be ahead by, and the gap at the flag is, as they go across the line, 20.5. They've done it by half a second. That was the longest 20 seconds of that team's life, and the cheers in the background. That's a release of just about every emotion. Michael O'Brien is delighted with that. 20.522 seconds the margin. In other words, 0.522 the margin. How about that?
What an unbelievable finish. I mean, who would have thought that they would have overcome 20 seconds of penalty, and they did.
Just
by half a second.
Yeah, but one back marker for Jaden Kelly, one fewer back marker for Alejandro Gepert. Could have been a different story. I still think if we can hear from Alejandro, he may fess up to there being some issue that he had to drive around, because under normal circumstances, I totally agree, you wouldn't expect him to hemorrhage that amount of time.
No, definitely something wasn't quite right there. We don't know obviously what it is, or whether they just didn't have the boost button available to them, or some other technical issue. Again, Alejandro is a really fast driver, and okay, he hasn't done as many laps as some of the others here, but a driver of his caliber will just tune into it and not lose quite that much.
There is Michael O'Brien, who probably hasn't been able to breathe out for the last 20 minutes. Tim Mullen there goes to congratulate him. And there is Jaden Kelly's car. Phew, says the team. Phew, says Jaden Kelly. That was quite a finish, having lost time on the penultimate lap, gaining it back on the last by just half a second. So if you apply the penalties, Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien, the winners by half a second from Alejandro Gapet and Will Aspin. Mikael Carlson and Lucas Sundal taking third. Sam Nisa and Josh Mason fourth. Nick Halstead, a second Pro-Am winner of the weekend with Tom Holland. Eric Behrens, the runner-up this time with Ashley Marshall. Ryan James and Ollie Webb third in Pro-Am. Then it's Philip Carter and Michael Broadhurst. Alexander West is the winner of the AM class. And 10th overall, Zach Meakin and Harry Burgoyne, even allowing for their penalty and an extra pit stop as well. Fiona James and Maurice Henry, 11th ahead of Danny Henry, then Tim Docker. Klaus Halsig and Bradley Ellis fended off the challenge of Ron Trenker and John Lancaster. So the drivers will clamber out of the cars and make their way to the interview area. Good to see Gapet and Aspin, also Carlson and Sundal on the podium today after retiring and not finishing yesterday. So being able to turn around the weekend, good effort.
Yes, whatever problems the number 12 car had, they at least had have a podium at the end of the weekend. And yes, it's something that they can take away and go to the next meeting, understand what went on this weekend, and fight again for honours, for the top step. I mean, they are, again, very well-balanced pair of drivers there in the number 12 car. There was obviously an issue today. We'll find out later what that was. But great to see the SMC car again on the podium.
And also, as far as winning teams are concerned, 3 different teams. Greystone GT winning in Pro-Am being won by Paddock Motorsport, and Garage 59 in the AM category. So a nice variety. Right, Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien can celebrate a win. Bryn Lucas is down there. But Bryn, I reckon for Jaden Kelly, that was the longest 20 minutes of his life.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to start, though, with Michael, because what a stint you put in there. I mean, it was a phenomenal bit of racing, and you told me you only used 100 seconds of your push to pass.
Yeah, maybe a bit more, I think, but it was close to that.
Something like that.
Yeah, I tried to save it once we got a decent enough gap to maybe, I didn't obviously see this coming, but worst case scenario, it's good that we saved a lot. So, yeah, it was kind of a crazy race. Can't quite get my head around it, really.
Then a 20-second penalty comes your way at the end there, Jaden, and you've got to drive like the clappers. I don't know if there was an issue with the car alongside you, but my word, 20.5 seconds was the deficit at the end.
Yeah, honestly, I cannot complain about this car. To get that 20-second gap was such work. There was so much traffic and there was so many cars to get through. I was so surprised when I heard my engineer come over the radio and say you've got a 20-second penalty, because from the inside it looked all good. So it just told me to push like hell. That's what I had to do. But seriously, a big thank you to the team. Big thank you to everyone who's put so much work into this. It's been an amazing start to the season with Michael, but I'm just so happy. Thank you to Hilton and Fitness Elite and everyone who's just come out to watch. It's been such a great race. Thank you.
I could tell you were happy, but well done. A really solid race performance there from the pro winners. And I'm just running over to now speak to our Pro-Am winners, Nick Halstead, and alongside him is Thomas Holland. Let's have a word from both of you there. 7 seconds was the deficit at the end for both of you, so it seems relatively simple, Thomas.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't make as easy a job for Nick as he did for me yesterday, but he put in an absolutely stellar performance. And I have to say, he even sold me that dummy when I was watching it. I genuinely thought he was going for a paddock, but it was an absolute gorgeous race, gorgeous move from Nick. And yeah, bring on Monza now.
Bring on Monza indeed. For yourself, Nick, this is relatively straightforward, it seems.
No, it's, Tom did a brilliant job to, hold with the pack there, and there was some good, it was a really good battle. So, I just had to, get past them again, and sold a dummy. I made a slight mistake and nearly went off. It's like, well, let's just chuck it in. But yeah, no, it was fun. I wouldn't say it was easy, but not bad.
Certainly not easy for me, but for you it seems to be pretty well done. So congratulations, 2 from 2, well done.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, Nick Halstead and Tom Holland, who have, in Nick's case, racing touring cars in Tom's GT Genettas in the last few seasons, coming together for a great weekend, no question about that. There, the winning car then, Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien, but wow, what a stint both of them did. But if anybody needs the finger pointing, it's the team for that little error that could have cost them so dearly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need to understand what happened there, for them to get this penalty. And when we were during the race, I said, what a good pit stop they had, but obviously it was too good. And it's interesting that Jaden Kelly said that from the car, because they have a timer, they know if they're leaving early or not. He said it all looked good. So it's an interesting one to try and find out what really happened there. But we always also interested to hear from Hepet, because we really think that there was something there and we don't know what it is, but we'll see.
So the drivers in a few moments will make their way to the podiums, plural, because we have one per category, Pro, Pro-Am and Am. And McLaren supporting GT World Challenge here, and it was McLaren in second place in the earlier race for GT World Challenge. Right, the podium is being prepared. The cars that aren't required being sent back to the paddock. Tom Holland touched on it, but the next stop for McLaren Trophy Europe is going to be Monza at the end of May. Race 2 for McLaren Trophy Europe began with Michael O'Brien storming into the lead from pole position. A good getaway on his outside by Will Aspin, and Harry Burgoyne taking third place. Burgoyne had a look up the inside to try to take second place. They climbed the hill to Druids. At the other side of the hill, he had a problem. Burgoyne's car coming onto Cooper Straight suddenly slowed, and he dropped way down the order. A pit stop required to recycle the power. There was a good fight, though, going on. Fiona James being able to get past the Ashley Marshall, Eric Bahrain's car on the inside going into Surtees. Sam Neser was busy battling with Ollie Webb, who eventually was able to duck up the inside coming out of Westfield and go through a car at the time that was leading in Pro-Am. Another good fight involved Michael Broadhurst, who got rather crowded up onto the grass as he battled with Brad Ellis, who was able to move himself through. Those two very McLaren orange Papaya cars squabbling together as the pit stop window opened and the cars cycled through. But it was the pit stop that oh so nearly did for the leaders, because it was a short pit stop, a penalty was incurred, but they overcame the 20 seconds for Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien to win for the second time this weekend. So the winning drivers make their way to the podium. A very different sort of British car you can see heading to the circuit, because masses of minis are about to descend on Brands Hatch here. But the McLaren Trophy podium, I'm hoping, is nearly ready. Drivers being rounded up, taken to the podium. But as yet, no driver steps forward, so hopefully won't be too long before the podium is good to go. Frustration for Alejandro Gapert, missing out there by just half a second.
And the winner there for the Pro-Am class, Nick Halstead, that you mentioned, he's done some British touring car, but he's no stranger to McLaren. He was racing a 570 GT4 and obviously still knows his way around the brand. So done a great job there for the Pro-Am class. And I've been told that he may have been chosen as the driver of the day, or certainly one of the hotly contested names for driver of the day today.
Which will be well received, I'm sure, as onto the podium come the third place drivers of Mikael Carlsen and Lucas Sundal. Then for second place, Alejandro Gapert and Will Aspin. Alejandro Gapert not looking overly pleased about life, in contrast to Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly, who go for the top step of the podium. So happy drivers all round for the McLaren Trophy Europe. Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien for Greyston GT come out on top. So now the trophies to be presented. Dariush Garsari, the McLaren One-Mate Racing manager, hands the trophies to our third-placed drivers. And for Michael O'Brien, our second win of the weekend with Jaden Kelly. It'll be a weekend to remember for sure. Second-place trophies to Will Aspin and Alejandro Gapet. Didn't get into yesterday's race, but have come good today. And Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly, either by 20.5 or half a second, depending on which way you want to look at it, to celebrate the win. But the fact that Jaden Kelly was able to stretch the gap, impressive. But look at the expression of Will Aspin. Alejandro Gapet, I think he's going to be similar. So near and yet so far. And both of them seem to give the suggestion that there was something not quite right.
Yes, it's a shame there. I think we would have seen in normal circumstances a bigger sort of battle between those two cars there, the first two. But interesting to hear also from Michael O'Brien about the fact that he didn't use, I thought he used a lot of his boost to get that gap initially of 8 seconds. But apparently he was actually quite generous to Jaden Kelly, leaving quite a bit left. So
good job, it turned out.
It makes it an even more impressive first stint for Michael O'Brien, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely so. Right, there are our pro drivers then. Some rather wetter with the champagne than others, leaving the podium. Pro-Am, Nick Halstead and Tom Holland victorious. This is how we look in the championship now with Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly 12 points up on Zach Meakin and Harry Burgoyne. Josh Mason and Sam Nessa tied on the same number of points as well. Then Will Aspin and Alejandro Gapet behind. So Monza for McLaren Trophy Europe as the next stop. So they're the drivers for Pro-Am on the podium. Ollie Webb, Ryan James on the far side, Eric Behrens and Ashley Marshall nearest to us. And then out come the winners, Nick Halstead in the white overalls, Tom Holland in the black, to clamber onto the podium, victorious for the second time this weekend. 2 out of 2. Nick Halstead and Tom Holland are Pro-Am winners here in McLaren Trophy Europe at Brands Hatch. And a job very well done. Nick Halstead admitting to making a mistake, but being able to fight back and still come through to take that class win. Nick Halstead and Tom Holland winners once again. And for Monza, let's see how things shape out in Pro-Am. So as the drivers make their way shortly from the podium, they'll be able to consider the race that they've had. And I'm hoping Nick Halstead stays on in the championship. There's talk of him having something else to race next weekend. But let's hope that he does carry on in the full championship. So, from Tommy Erdos and David Addison, it is goodbye from Brands Hatch, and we'll see you in Monza at the end of the month, where we have the next brace of races in what is turning out to be a really interesting McLaren Trophy Europe, with the star turns here being Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien. We'll see you in Italy for the second event of the year.